Welcome everyone to the CX event. We've noticed a lot of change in the space and doing a lot of recruitment. Neil Cole is here this morning to share his experience and growth in the area.
Thank you. Cheers. Morning everybody. A couple of housekeeping things for me. Starting off, Kiwirail, we've got some cultures going on that we're trying to build. One of them is staying safe. So when we have a meeting at Kiwirail that's more than 5 people, we have a safety moment. And so I'll offer one into the group just to give an example. One of our big ones that we had is towards the end of last year. Somebody was getting at the end of the day on a Friday in one of our yards for our freight customers, and a bit of pressure to get home, and at the last minute was trying to connect 2 wagons together with a simple hook. So he just, outside of protocol, just kicked it with a steel cap boot, got his foot stuck and suffered quite a major injury. So we like to have a safety moment to keep that top of mind for people. We have protocols, but actually our safety moment makes it real and keeps it alive for us all the time. So we're always thinking about why protocols are there and why we follow them. So safety moment, obviously big safety environment at Kiwirail. I'm now trying to tuck in behind that and have a customer moment at each of our meetings as well. So my little push for culture change is to have a customer moment. So if anyone's brave enough this early in the conversation to offer a customer moment, generally it doesn't have to be about, for us it doesn't have to be about our business, it can be our personal lives. Something that you've really resonated for you is either really good or bad customer moment. Anybody brave enough to offer one up? Got one in reserve if we don't. Okay, I'll plug in. My one, we talk a lot in our tourism business about Air New Zealand. So I'll do a bit of a shout out for Air New Zealand. I've been travelling a lot last year, about this time last year, departing Auckland all the time, and every Friday without fail we're an hour, 2 hours late. Became a bit of a drag. One particular Friday was quite late, got on board, and as we came through the gangway, the captain was there taking everybody's tickets and welcoming everybody on board with a big smile. So I thought, wow, they're really short-staffed if this guy's out here doing the ticket duties, right? So it's like, oh, that's odd, and everybody had the scowly, growly faces, sat down, you know, we want to get home. And then he did the announcement as well, so did the cabin attendant announcement. He said, look, Captain blah, blah, blah here. He said, I really want to come out here and front this. We've had some delays over the last bit. This is why it's going on. I'm going to push forwards, really try and burn some fuel, get you guys home because I know you want to get back to your kids and your family. End of his announcement, he got applause from the whole plane. So I thought that was a really great customer moment, but not only that, a really great leadership moment as well. So we push for leadership where we walk the talk as well. So I thought that was a really cool customer moment. So if you can take one thing away today, maybe go back to your organisations, bringing customer moment at a meeting is a really good habit to bring that culture up. Yeah, a little bit about me. I have done digital startups, and I started my kind of career in hospitality management for about 6 years, and then I did some work in banking in my kind of late 20s, and then I thought banking was a really boring product. So, you know, late 20s, not very exciting at all. I thought, oh, what's more exciting than banking? I'll go into energy because the product has no flavour or strength. It's all the same and all you're doing is selling a bill. So that was an interesting move. But it taught me a lot about really getting things right if your basic product is not that great. From there, I've done a bit of work at DOC. Conservation is something I care about. And I've landed in Kiwirail and I've been there about 3 years now. So my tourism manager would hate for me to stand up here and not give you a little bit of plug about the business. So people may or may not know a lot about us. We've got quite a bit of a Wellington-centric business. We carry 1 million customers a year, and we actually kind of have to source 1 million customers. They're not kind of repeat business a lot of times. So we're in a mode of acquiring 1 million customers a year. So think about that. We've probably got one of the largest customer databases in New Zealand, outside of Air New Zealand. So thinking about that in our context, particularly around Inter-Islander, we know quite a bit about tourism in New Zealand, which is funny because 2 years ago we didn't think we had a tourism business. So part of the evolution, we've got a split of customers in the ferry space, about 65% domestic, and then it flips over in the trains. We've got 3. There's the Northern Explorer Wellington to Auckland, Transalpine, which is our flagship one, which goes from Christchurch to Greymouth, and Coastal Pacific, which we're just welcoming back now after the line closures from the earthquake. So really great project there, getting that back online. So that's a little bit about the business. First point to kind of cover is this is my license to operate at Kiwirail. In 2016, in our annual report, we made a statement, like lots of organisations have probably made, that we're something else centric and we want to be customer centric. In our case, assets. So our people love our assets. They love trains. They're big, we call them foamers. They're in love with their assets. The employees are kind of something that they tolerate, you know, their fellow workers, and then the customers are, oh, well, you know, if they pay the bill, that'd be great. That's kind of our mindset, going back a little bit. So we've got this aspiration, customer at the middle, employees, and then our assets just serve those things. So it's fair to say we're on a journey there, and there's some underinvestment in the past that we're trying to catch up on in the asset space, but this is our goal. So we need to be customer centric. Since then, we've done a lot of work in tourism, and we're about to make some start in our freight business. So that's my license to operate. The next question I got as the first customer experience manager at Kiwirail is, who are you and what are you doing here? I keep things pretty simple. So my presentation shows some pretty simple diagrams and some pretty simple language. I believe that's the best way to get your message across. A lot of Kiwirail communications, very simple also. So you do get these challenges of, you know, really upfront challenges. So for me, I had to answer that really quickly, otherwise nobody was going to listen to me. So I see the position of CX is somewhere between sales and marketing and operations, no matter what kind of business you're sat in. So you've got a promise and you've got a delivery. And I'm a voice of reason or reality that comes into that mix and actually just informs both sides of that party. It's really simple. So I don't have an agenda, I don't have objectives, I don't have that many projects that I run. I'm just bringing the voice of the customer in. And for us, we do that through surveys, we do that through interviews, and we look at market insights and data that's out in the marketplace. What that does is it basically tries to temper the balance between these two people. In our case, it actually just got them in the same room, which is really cool. We have a monthly CXT meeting where all parties come in. We work through some of the framework stuff that I'll show you, and we have a discussion about what's going on in our business. And actually just getting people together and talking and understanding each other is kind of our first win. So yeah, we call that CXT, Customer Experience Team. And really, I'm just pushing all that we're hearing from customers and from our crew into that mix. And it's pretty simple. I believe that if you're going to unlock the potential of your business, you need to listen and measure in the places where your business meets the customer. That seems pretty simple. A real life example of that is looking at my freight business. I spent a day on the call centre, and the most amazing call centre agent I've ever seen. He was a human octopus. He just was doing everything, had 3 or 4 systems that he had to manage, and the things he could tell our CEO about systems and the systems to support him, you know, it was a matter of not if this guy was going to mess up, it's just a matter of when. He didn't have the systems to support the way that he was trying to support the customer. If I put my CEO into that role and have him sit down for a morning, that system would change without doubt. So there's a challenge there. How do we get that customer feedback or that reality of where the customer's meeting our business into the decision-making process? So that's one of our big challenges. Achievements in tourism. So I'll talk a little bit about Inter-Islander, a lot. We're quite proud of it. It is a Wellington business, so I know I'm an Auckland audience, but hopefully you've all had a go and been on the Inter-Islander, or know the jingle at least. This is our NPS and customer satisfaction. Most people would be familiar with NPS as a measurement in the customer experience space. Detractors and promoters. You can have a really bad performance at -100 and a really great performance at positive 100. For us, we hold up Rocky Mountaineer as our benchmark, or our kind of, you know, the North Star for all of us. They have an NPS of 77. Rocky Mountaineer is an experiential train trip in Canada. Costs, you know, anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 a day. It's high attention, high focus, high customer service, lovely environment, glass dome roofs. So that's kind of our aspiration, is to be somewhere there. When I came into the business, we were at about 38 for our NPS for our Inter-Islander ferry, which is just a dirty old method of transport right across the Cook Strait. It's not one of those glass dome things. Since then we're hitting 60. We got to 60 last year. We'll get to 63 this year, and some of our crews on board, some of our vessels are getting to 70, which is pretty, it's transformational. We're getting to the point now where we kind of can see in the future people would come to New Zealand to get on the Inter-Islander ferry. There's lots of stuff we take for granted as Kiwis. Cruising through that Sounds is just a magical experience on the right day. Got a great environment around you. You can have a drink, you can have something to eat if we get the food right, and have taken this wonderful environment. It's just a great way to travel. So really proud of what the team's achieved in that space. We've done a lot of that growth through observations through survey, and this is how it works. So I've got my license to operate. People know how I fit in. The next challenge for me was then come up with a plan or a framework for CX. So within 6 months, I had to decide how we were going to run. Kiwirail's an interesting environment. Going from digital startup to state-owned enterprise under investment is quite a cultural shift. So I can't just rock in and tell everybody how to do things, or say, hey, we've got this great idea, let's do some blue sky thinking. It's just not how that environment works. So I had to learn quite quickly what was going to motivate the people at Kiwirail. So I came up with this framework. First thing, I believe, I was surprised when I came into the business, nobody knew the numbers, not even customer numbers. They even didn't know the whole business numbers. So first thing is people should know the numbers. So we should know how much money we're making. We should know what we're after. We should know the key numbers behind our strategy, and we should know how we're performing on a basis month by month. So a really big thing is get a measurement in place, so we can all focus on what matters, and as we roll through this we can actually see if we're making change and if it's being effective, the graph before. Once we get that in place, it's about understanding our customers. I use personas. There's different varieties of personas. I use them in a kind of design thinking or design way, which is really just to stop people grounding. So just to think about people from different perspectives. It's not a marketing or a segmentation type model. It's just a design thinking kind of model. So objective there, get to about 3 or 4 key personas so you can just easily transition. I'm a bit greedy, I've got 5 or 6 in some of mine because I just couldn't make it work. I'll take you through that too. Once we understand different types of customers, then we need to look at the journey that they're on, and you've probably done a bit of journey mapping stuff. It's a really great way to work through solutions or problems in your business. And for us, we had great people. Every meeting I'm in, I say Kiwirail's got great people when they do. It turns out in our numbers all the time. But they're really focused on the in-service part. So when they get on board our assets, we look after them really well. What we didn't think about too much was how people got to our services and helping them transition and get on board and feel safe and know what they need to bring and those things. And then we've still got a bit of work to do on how we kind of do that last mile, but we tend to kind of wave and that's about it. So thinking about the full journey, not just the in-service piece. And as we did some of this work, there was lots and lots of opportunities that came out. As we talked to those customer-facing roles, as we talked to customers, lots of really great ideas. But it feels difficult to make change at Kiwirail, so what do we do with all those challenges? How do I respect that feedback that somebody's giving me, and I don't have a typical kind of a response when I introduce myself was, yeah, we've seen one of you guys before about 2 years ago, you turned up and disappeared, took all the great ideas and I never heard from you. That's the kind of reaction that I was getting when I joined. So how do I respect that? If people are giving me their passion, their enthusiasm, their thoughts and their ideas, their creativity, I've got to respect that. So I need to have a place to keep that safe. I put that in a CX register so that we don't lose track of it. I haven't been brilliant about not being that guy because I've been busy setting this other stuff up. So the big challenge for me in my frameworks, always work to do, is I need something a little bit better in that space as far as respecting that feedback and keeping them updated with things. Because they might have a terrific idea, but it might be a strategic thing that needs a lot of investment. That might not surface for 2 or 3 years, so they feel like they haven't been hurt. But they might have, and things are in progress. So that's my kind of framework. I'll take you through a little bit. in depth. This is my report that my first version of the report stood up, and basically what it does, we've got all these data points. Our survey's about 15 minutes long. It's a battle of attrition, really. I think New Zealand's got a really long one. They plug out every kind of 6 months to people. We get an 18% completion rate, which is magnificent for such a long survey. And so there's a wealth of data in there. So I think we have about 125,000 responses a year. So it's a lot of data to be dealing with when you kind of multiply that over 15 minutes worth of information. It's quite a lot. So we weren't using that data very well. We'd introduced our own kind of special customer measurement. We called it quality score, which weighted everybody's responses. So it put more weight on the positive and less on the negative. Great idea, right? So hey, we're going great. So every month when I came in, the reporting that we did have said, oh, customers are between 71 and 73% satisfied, you know, and we'd focus on the 70%, you know, and it had a really weird blur. I'm colorblind, so it kind of it was going between green and red, and I couldn't even pick out the difference. So it really wasn't working for me. Funnily enough, I've put green and red in. So I was like, okay, so what do we focus on? Do we focus on the 71 or the 70, or there's lots of 72? Are they just as bad? It didn't make any sense to me. So we got rid of that. There'd been a big PR campaign about how quality score was the way to go. So we had to unwind that campaign and say, actually, most people just use satisfaction as 1 to 5, 4 to 5 satisfied, 1 to 3 not. Gives you the more extremes. So I use those kind of scores in different dimensions of my business, and then I group them by the area that they're in. So this report has call center, email, station performance, and onboard performance. So this is one for a train. And then there's dimensions in each part. And I treat it like a P&L. So it's kind of like a financial report for me, but with a customer measurement, right? So I know what I've done this month. I know what I'm trying to achieve this month. And I know what I did last year. Because our business has got a shape. You know, we're hugely busy over the summer months. It's a completely different business to the middle of winter. So I can't compare to last month or 3 months ago. I've got to compare directly back to last year, but I've also got to keep an eye on where we're planning to get to as well. So that's this month, and then I also look at my year to date, because we might have had a bad month, but we might be okay overall. So it's giving context back into the business about the numbers. So we've gone from 70, 71 to now actually, oh, I can see there's these problems in the business. Those are a real problem because they're still red over here, or that's just a blip. It's okay. We rolled this out, and this comes into our monthly CXT meeting. And every time there was red on this report, I would talk to that group and they would know what was going on. Or they'd have an inkling, which to me was like job done, number one. If this makes sense and it resonates to them, then that's great. So I believe in a mix of measurement and also discussion. So this just gives me an indicator where the topic's at. The most important piece of work I do is then getting in the room with those people and saying, hey, it looks like something's going on with the commentary, what's that about? And we kind of say, oh, we think it might be this, or they say, I know it's this and we need to fix it. You put that number back in front of people enough times, they get it fixed. If they don't know what it is, we can dig in a bit deeper, we can go into the comments and we can do that research and we can see what's going on in their business. So yeah, you can tell, you know, at a glance, I can look at the health of my business and I can see call center's going okay, email team did well, at station performance had a good month, but they've got some ground to catch up, and onboard performance looks like our seats aren't comfy all of a sudden. So what's that about? Are they getting tired? Do we need to recover them? Those kind of things. So it's a really quick way to get a health check on your customer. So it's a customer pulse. This has been responsible for 80 to 90% of that lift that I've seen in the NPS score. All the other stuff I'm starting to roll out. This is where we're more mature as far as my framework. This has been an absolute godsend. Just on that, what this does, it's an information piece as well. So this tells our teams what they need to focus on. But what it also serves at, because it goes into our executive and our management, is that where our people are doing everything they can, and our crew on board the trains operated about 95, 96% customer satisfaction, but some of our facilities operate at 70%. So that's a really great communication method back up the chain into the executive to say, our people are doing everything they can with the assets they have. What's holding us back or constraining us are these things. So we quite clearly know where we need to make our investments. That helps with those stories that are more strategic. So it helps support those things. So that went well, we got a first lift. And then I have two businesses that I look after at the moment, tourism space, trains and ferries. They've had different engagement with me. You might be able to tell from my presentation, the guys in the ferry team have been really responsive to this framework, so they've had most of the benefit. They came knocking on my door saying, we don't understand our score, what happened? We started to look at days and we started to identify then down at a daily level where some issues were coming, and they were trying to unpick what was going wrong for them. So they were actively coming to me for more information. So we built them a daily NPS, so now we can actually see how we're going. And built a daily NPS by vessel, by swings. And what that actually started to turn up was a bit of constructive competition. Because now we've got the same asset doing the same route, but two different crews, started to bring out some of the personality dynamics that are going on as well. So you can see our Aratiri here, we've got a score of 63 for the month versus 49. That's quite a big difference. That crew hired a leader from P&O Cruises. He came in. He was blown away by the stuff that we provide in the CX space. He's gravitated towards it. He now has both of those swings over 70 on the Inter-Islander. And how he's done it? He lines all the crew up on the way out, and they even wear silly hats sometimes and they just wave everybody off. They say goodbye. That's turned that up 20 to 30 points in NPS. I used to literally get vacuum cleaned off that ship before he arrived. So you'd be standing in a queue trying to get out a small door and you'd feel the vacuum cleaner on your heels because the crew just couldn't wait to get it vacuumed, get it cleaned up, do the transaction so they could have a bit of a break. Complete change around of culture. These guys now, if I don't have the report out in time, they're banging on my door. Where's our report? That's just not the leaders of the business, that's actually the crew members as well. So they've engaged with it, they've profited from it. I use CX as a way of telling their story. So my success is other people's success. So I always pay out to my crew and to the operational teams that run everything on time as well. So that benefit isn't just from my CX framework, it's about creating that focus for customer. And then we've had a great leader as a GM of Inter-Islander, Mark Thompson, has been driving operational performance, saying, got to get people there on time. If you're on time, you're happy. Generally, if you're not there on time, you're not happy. It doesn't matter what the crew does, how our butter chicken tastes, or any of the other things that we wrap around it. Fundamentally, if we disrupt you, you're going to be upset. So you've got to get those hygiene factors right. So that's worked really well. So this kind of aggregates up. They know as a team, they're 59, they know who's contributing and who's not. So this is a bit of analysis on that NPS. We were kind of cruising along here with a little bit of a lift, and then we really hit our straps with the monthly measurement. What happened at this point is I realized I was sending out my monthly report and all that really juicy good data in there, but like most of the stuff that I get, I see the attachment and I'm just like, oh, I don't have time for this. So all I did at that point was actually just wrote up a summary of the key points that were in the report. Going to the executive, it gave them a snapshot so they knew the topics, so they could go and have the conversation straight away. That turned up that lift. The exec, the leaders get involved in the measurement, the questions start coming down, people start responding to the questions, we lift. Really simple stuff. So we did really well, we plateaued a little bit, and we thought, what's the next trick? Daily NPS, lift again. And we'll keep doing that. We'll keep looking at different ways we can improve that measurement or the insight piece. I'm working on some really cool text analytics stuff. There's been a lot of talk about AI and text analytics. Most of it I don't buy into, but I'm starting to unravel a really good way to get through some of that text analysis that'll actually be meaningful. Why that's important is this kind of comes out in the personas I'll take you through. Personas, like I say, I'm a little bit greedy. I've got six in Inter-Islander and 5 here on the trains. So when we looked at the trains, largely because our people are so in touch with our customers, they knew who these people were, so we talked about some of these people generally. I did some analysis, came up with some hypotheses about who they were. checked it back with the crew because they've got to believe it. They've got to own these customer personas. If they don't believe them, it's no good as a language in our business. So it was really obvious to us. Our big group is the Golden Anzacs. So 50, 55 plus New Zealand, Australia couples. They've got time, they're looking for a little bit of an adventure, but they want to do it in comfort. We're a great option for them. Sneakers International, I always like to have something that you kind of remember in your persona names. They've got to be memorable, right? So sneakers, we all kind of see them come off a cruise ship. Levi jeans, they're back now, aren't they? White runners and Tommy Hilfiger kind of cardi over the top. So they're pretty much the international version of a Golden Anzacs, same age, same kind of setup couple. We knew that people like to take kids on the train as an experience, so that's people travelling with kids. So it could be mum and dad, it could be mum, could be dad, could be granddad, could be brother, sister, whatever. Sunshine groups were a bit of a find, skewed towards females. They spend all year organising, and then for some reason they travel in September, October. Big one in Auckland is coming down to Wellington for the World of Wearable Arts. My first experience on the train, I got on in Auckland coming down to Wellington in the school holidays, and I thought this is going to be a real nightmare. It's a tin can with like 20, 30 screaming kids. Complete opposite. I was surrounded by groups of women in large florally dresses, and they were drinking champagne and having Capri ice creams and having the time of their lives, going, this is wonderful, you know. And I was, what is this? You know, this led me to kind of ask the question, who are our customers? Because my first impression was wrong. So really cool group. They do it in Greymouth a lot. We haven't quite unpicked that. It seems to be around kind of wedding events, something like that. It's a bit of a thing to do because you can go there and back in a day. When we looked at the data, so again, data and then insights, you've got to have both. We got to the data, there's some big holes in the data. When I looked, they were single people that were travelling, and that's really skewed towards women. So SWT, playing a bit on single white female, you know, everybody kind of jars on that as a description, which I love. It's frustrating for them, but I love it because it's memorable. So they remember that SWT, they might call it SWF, all kinds of things. This was really interesting. This was the find for me, because we knew about these other ones. That's 7 or 8% of our business is actually the SWT. And when you actually sit there and look, they're really quiet in our environment. I rolled out the personas, I showed it to our marketing team, and one of the marketing managers kind of, you know, like, oh yeah, not sure if I believe these personas, especially the SWT. He went on the train, I got a text about half an hour in saying, oh, sorry if there's marketers in the room, it's a terrible general slur, but anyway, he sent me a text and saying, no SWTs here. Like, oh, okay. Sent him a text back going, that's really odd, 7 or 8% of our business, I'd be surprised if there aren't any. And he's like, no, none here. I was like, oh, that's really odd. But they were really quiet, he might not have noticed them. Went back and said, oh, hey, you know the age range is between 80 and 70 because it's dispersed, there's no shape as far as age. Oh, I was looking for the 25-year-olds. 2 minutes later, they're here! Exclamation mark. So we're looking for them, we can't see them, that invisible, right? So they're having the time of their lives though. They're sat there on their own, they've got a great camera, they've got their diary, they're really engaged with the environment they've been taken through, and they're having a lovely time. This is great insight for us. We didn't know they were there. How can we turn up their experience? Well, we can just know what they want. They might just want a little bit of engagement. They might want me to come through and say, hi, I'm Neil, I'm your train guy, I'm going to be coming through here and there. Let me know if you want anything, or just find out where you're going, what you're doing. Typically, you're motivated by something. There's been a bit of a life change, or you're heading to something. Let's have a conversation about that, make you feel at ease, that you enjoy the environment. You've got all your stuff, you're worried about your personal safety. Are you going to walk 3 carriages down and get a coffee from a cafe cart? No. Do we do seat service? No. So we're not going to get any of that onboard spend off you. So I, as a crew member, now commercially have a reason to talk to you as well. Can I get you a coffee? Is it time for a fudge slice? It's 2:30, you know, that kind of stuff. So really great opportunity for us. That was really great. We're working on a project there now to really understand it. And that whole invisibility, when we started to do research out on the web, this is a really growing thing. There's websites set up. It's literally called Single Women Travellers websites, you know. It's a real movement. So that was really cool. In the Inter-Islander space, we kind of had to shift because our train is an experiential product. So people are largely there for the same thing. They want to look out of the window, they want to go into our viewing car, which is open air, they want to go over viaducts, and they want to see amazing landscape. Inter-Islander is kind of a mode of transport, but sometimes it's also an experience. So we couldn't look at who the people were because it's so diverse. 800,000, I would have 30 personas, which is way too greedy. Can't keep a focus on anybody with 30 personas. So we, instead of looking at who they were, we started to look at why they were traveling. So what are the reasons for them to travel? Again, some really obvious stuff with tourists. We knew that would happen. Germans, lots of Germans. December, January, February, now becoming March is just chocker with families. So they're a completely different dynamic. You think even about those two kinds of people. These are largely couples in a camper van on an exciting, not time-bound journey through Wonderland of New Zealand. These guys are sat in the car waiting for an hour and a half to board with the kid, the dog and bike, and they've been up at 6 o'clock. Quite different experiences. Weekenders made sense as well. People getting away for the weekend, just going in and out, largely driven by events or sometimes medical, sometimes shopping is a big driver for those. We knew we had groups, sports groups, tramping groups, any kind of group you can imagine, we have them. And we knew we had a loyalty base that travelled all the time. So people with sales regions, we had a lot of people working when the Christchurch rebuild was really in full swing. We had a lot of tradies that would actually drive down, take their van down for the day. Their van is their office, it's got all the tools in. Really funny. I was in our Plus Lounge. We have a standard offering, we have a Plus Lounge that you can upgrade for $45 and you get all the food and drink that you can have, that you can consume in the sailing. So really funny. We had a period there where we had lots of tradies in our Plus Lounge and our, in our kind of version of Koru, and they're there with their overalls and they're smashing as many drinks as they can on a Friday night because it's super great value. So it was really kind of jarring, but I kind of like the fact they'd cottoned onto it pretty early, so that was really cool. Then we had about 10% of our business were other. When they answered in the survey, we didn't fit to the kind of questions we were asking. And I had a label for this one. I was going to call these guys batch locals. Yeah, cool. People in Wellington who have a batch in the Sounds. Because when I talk to the people in the terminal, they're like, oh, when I was asking, I just say to them, who are these other 10%? Oh, they're always going down to the batch and they bring everything. They bring a truck and a trailer. They've got the weed whacker and the mower, and I got all this grief from our people about how frustrating these people are, and they're carrying petrol and all these stories. So I thought, right, this is our missing link. When I did the analysis and we went through, I think it was about 4,000 data points there and that others, that persona, that batch local, ranked sadly below people who travel for funerals. So it wasn't a really big thing, but what did turn out when we looked at that other was moving house, moving home, bought a car, got a car off Trade Me, and they were shifting stuff. So they're either shifting their lives or shifting a car. That makes perfect sense, right? Really easy. I'd seen some observations. Tuesday, a vehicle check-in, there's a guy rolling up at 10:30, 11 in the morning consistently, one guy in a car. Different cars, different guys, old, young, whatever, vans full of stuff, just a normal car. And I was just like, who is this guy? This guy. Check-in didn't really know, and they're kind of a bit bemused when asked. It's like, who do you think this customer is? They're like, oh, I don't know. It's easy for them. It's a quiet time. They don't mind. They don't care who it is. It's easy at that point. And I realised that shifters, these guys are moving the car. Trade Me knows that I live in Wellington. I've just bought that Jag I've always wanted in Christchurch. Chances are I'm a bloke. I'm going to fly down and I'm going to drive it back and have a roadie, right? So we did a little campaign, short burst on Trade Me, where that kind of situation arose, and we just got 600 new bookings out of it. We know digitally, this is all stuff we should have been knowing. So it's just really how the data can help you get to those people. Really interesting also. And the shifting home was really transactional, shifting cars really transactional. And then there was these big screeds, these epic stories. And it was, oh, I'm taking my little Bobby down to Otago University and he's doing a degree and blah, 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 blah. And it's really emotional time for me because it's a life-changing thing. And I'm a father. I've got two boys, 14 and 17. And it really resonated for me. I could imagine me taking my Tom down and that kind of transition, you know, father and son journey, and he's off to build his own life. Oh, it was really good, tingly moments reading all these comments. Oh, this will make a really great campaign. We could do a brand campaign on this. Student relocations, father and son. Went to a CX convention last year in New Zealand. Same campaign, father and son. Son's on the headphones, father's trying to reconnect. Oh, I was just like, oh, why? Why don't I have the budget? So, as you see, just diving into the bits that you don't know unlocks more potential that you didn't realise was there. Personas are a really great way of working. It avoids grounding. So grounding is that fact of when you go up to a map, what's the first thing you want to see is where am I? So same thing happens when we've got a design challenge in our business. Nobody likes the pies. Well, what do I like about the pies and what don't I like about the pies? So that's my mode, that's my grounding. So everybody thinks that. If I think that, everybody thinks that. That's just human behavior, that's what we do. No matter how hard we try, there's still that kind of bias. This kind of helps us because it creates a dialogue around that decision making or that thought process. So as a team, pies are no good. Well, what's a tourist going to think? They don't even know what a meat pie is, you know? So some of the ads rolling around on that, you know, local holiday, you know, so we can take it through each of those different personas and put a different lens on it. Helps get out of your skin. It helped us this year identify that we'd dropped the ball a little bit on our local holiday. It had always been core part of our business, but our brand team had just forgotten that they were there, which is remarkable. So we did a campaign this year, market shares up, and it's been really effective, and it focused on the things that we heard from these people that were important to them. Getting into the customer then, so we've got a version of what they are. We're starting to build out some persona profiles, so we start to tell a bit of a story about who they are, what's important to them outside of our business as well as what inside our business, because we need to know their full journey. So we need to think about them as a whole. I can do measurement on these guys as well, and I produce a packet each year that says, here's our commuter, so our old mate that is travelling for business. I know what he likes and what he doesn't like. He wants better food and drink in the Plus Lounge, so he's getting a bargain. He wants even more. So we dug into that, and there's a bit of a comparison there for the more corporate end of things, where they're comparing us to Kiwirail Lounge, and we're not really trying to be a Kiwirail Lounge. We're kind of a version close to it, so it's a bit confusing for people. So we know a lot of that stuff. We can see that he or they overrepresent in some of our shoulder periods, so great opportunity for us. So we know when they're travelling. We know how much of a contribution to the business, so this is our whole of business volume, and this is their volume, so it's quite low. We have a lot of international wholesale customers, but we can start to tune these edges. These guys are really good for us lifting our volume in these off seasons where we're a bit lower. Measurement, just knowing our numbers, right? So we go from being 70 to 71 to 72. Now we know who we need to talk to, when we need to talk to, why they're important, what they care about. And just build out a calendar, really simple calendar. You're going to have more commuters in August. What are we going to do? So I put that challenge back out to the team. I don't tell them what to do. I say, we need to do something for commuters in August. What can you do? And they'll ideate, they'll come up with things, they'll own that, and they'll put the solution in. I don't tell them. And when they put it in and they're successful, I'll promote their success. So it's kind of a virtuous circle. Worst thing you can do at Kiwirail is tell somebody what they should do. So there's a big cultural shift that we're trying to push here. So that's how that kind of works. This is a really ugly looking journey map. We've got some prettier ones, but really that's just looking at through that whole journey, you know, what are they doing? What are their pain points? What are our pain points? What are they feeling, thinking? We've got some better versions now that kind of have a bit of a mood level as well, which is really great visually, because then you can go, well, actually we're a bit flat here, we're a bit low there. I want to evolve our journey so that kind of really overlays quite tightly with the journey map, so I can actually get that measurement through the whole journey. And then I can actually, rather than having somebody do observations and guess where the mood is, I can actually take a pulse. That's a really powerful way of working too. If you've got a problem, you can just focus in. So in service, we're going to roll out a new commentary product. Okay, what do we need to think about? What do we need to think about before they get there? Do they need headsets? All of those kind of bits and pieces. From there, we put it all into our opportunity register, and then some opportunity registers got about 500 items in there. So that's a lot of things to think about and a lot of ideas to deliver on. So we do a triage on it. It's pretty simple. What's the value to us? Is it low or high? And what's the effort involved? And it's really simplistic. We put some numbers or customers affected kind of numbers to help people make that judgment. And then we basically put them in quadrants. So if it's high effort and it's high value, it's likely to be a really strategic thing. We think we should buy a new ship, which we're actually just buying 2 of. Well, that's $800 million. So is that going to happen next year? No. Who's going to make that decision? It's going to be the executive, right? So this is horizon 2, 3, 4, 5 for our business, and it's an executive decision, it's strategic. But I need to pay that idea some respect and say, hey, that's a really big thing you're asking. We've put it into the system. This is where it's sitting in the system as far as our decision making, and this is likely when you're going to see something about it. If it's high effort and it's low value, then that's pretty challenging. It's probably not a great idea, to be honest. If we give everybody free fish and chips on the Inter-Islander, customers will love it. We'll go out of business, but the customers would love it, right? So, hey, I like the thinking there. Can we kind of tweak that so that we're not losing money? You know, so it's a chance for the person who's had the idea to learn about business, and also give them the opportunity to refine it. Go, actually, we'll make it $5 or discount it, or we'll give them water, or we'll do something. So it's not completely dead. And it needs to be treated with care because someone's generously given it to us. Where we've made all our quick wins in the measurement space is here, where our next layer down, our operational management have been able to affect change really quickly. So they're high value and they're low effort. And so they just get in there, they make changes, we see the change, we know it's right, we keep going. We see a change backwards, we'd stop doing that. So we can respond quite quickly. And this is around a kind of empowerment model here, which is, you know, if it's a low effort but it's low value, it's going to add value, just do it. Just get on with it, get it done. If it's focused on customer, if it's going to serve the customer, do it. So my whole thing with most of my framework is it's just a triangle, right? The bottom of the triangle is everybody that deals with the customers. There's lots of people in our business that deal with the customer. Top of the triangle is the guy that's running the ship, or the train, sorry. Terrible puns in my business. So they want to create a better business. Everybody in the ground level wants to create a better business. It's just the bit in the middle that gets a bit strange. In most organisations as well, we try to overcomplicate things, keep it simple. We did a customer research piece in our freight, really big piece last year, and when we talked to some of our larger freight customers and they were describing how that decision making in that middle management kind of felt to them, they described that, these are their words, as blancmange. So you kind of poke it and it wobbles a bit and kind of comes back, and all they were doing is basically just probing around that layer to find the answer that they wanted. They were getting inconsistent stuff. We didn't have a direction and that was wobbly. They were hearing great things at the top. People were saying we're heading in a great direction and they were getting great service in the middle, but in that middle layer is just kind of blancmange. So this kind of stuff helps that blancmange firm up a little bit. Takes the guesswork out of what we should be doing and where we should be going, where our plans should be focused. So responding to this and even some of this helps firm us up in that middle piece. So informing the triangle is kind of a big one for me. I do an annual report. It's massive, it's got all this data and insights and interviews and stuff, and then we come up with some key areas to focus on, typically 6. And all the evidence to support that. I feed that back into the business and it goes into our planning cycle now. Really good in the tourism space. It's at the start of our planning cycle now with the brand team, and it informs everybody else's plan as well. So quite a shift. That's gone really well too. How that all fits together, all of the framework stuff. So the measurement reporting, the shades of blue here kind of loosely indicate how advanced or how complete my efforts are in these areas. So we're really good in our measurement reporting. Personas are going well. We're using Journey Map as a way of working. Our opportunity register, I need to not be that guy. Our market insights, we haven't even started looking outside of ourselves really in a meaningful way yet. We touch it, but it's not. So as you can see, I've still got heaps of work to do. My results are doing this. We're at plus 64 for tourism. That all feeds up into that annual pack, which then informs the strategy. So that's how it kind of works in our Kiwirail ecosystem. and it's working really well. So kind of, I guess, all of that, just there's some kind of really simple principles. Most of them seem pretty simplistic. Most of what I do seems simplistic. Culturally, it's actually quite powerful. It's a bit sneaky of me. It's just really about listening. It's a really great skill. Get out of your own skin, so get in the minds of your customers. You need to think about the bigger picture of what's going on around you. There's no bad ideas. Key one for me is success through others. So how can I inform people to be successful? How can I celebrate when they've been successful and support them and always promote them? Informing the triangle. And then for us, unfortunately, if none of that works, we actually have to get in and actually drive some change as well. So my philosophy is that I don't really push kind of project initiatives at this point. Lots of people's version of CX is, I hear this quite a lot when I go to presentations. We did this great CX project. I don't like project myself. We did 3 months, we got all our customers, and we got some SMEs in the room, and we banged out this really great product. That's just a temporary state. What I believe CX is about is actually building it back into your business. So it's actually informing your business all the time. It's a business skill that is residual in your business. It lives and breathes in your business, and it informs your business. And when you think about Kiwirail, we've got executive report, and when we get to the customer segment, our report currently for our customer measurement in our annual reports in our executive is how much money we've made out of them. So is the revenue up or down? And that's our indicator for mood. And I'd argue that's not necessarily the best indicator for your customer. So we've still got a long way to go. Hopefully there's some really basic stuff in here that you guys can take away and maybe add value into your organisations. I'm happy to chat.
Neil, thank you so much.
No worries.
I think it's amazing. It's something that it keeps resonating. I mean, most of us know about the NPS score, but I think we know our customers and we don't. And it's about going out to find out who your customers are, because maybe you're not providing the value that you think you are. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. So let's give you a great big hand. Thank you so much.
Cheers.